Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. Numerous grant acceptances populated the agenda at last week's Barnstable Town Council meeting, and during today's program, we'll get into some of the stories behind those grants as we bring you the meeting highlights. However, we begin today with the Town Council's presentation to former State Representative Jeff Perry. Perry was presented a proclamation Thursday night honoring his service to the people of Barnstable during his time in the state legislature.
Whereas Jeffrey Davis Perry has represented the 5th Barnstable District with pride, honor, and distinction, and whereas Representative Perry was the ranking member of the Committee on Education and Public Safety and Homeland Security, motivated and influenced by the principles of transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility, and whereas Representative Perry, through great personal tragedy, proposed the Page Victoria Perry Act to create a Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Advisory Council to help families impacted by SIDS, and whose family has established the Page Victoria Perry Fund to raise awareness and educate the public about SIDS and to support research. And whereas Jeff Perry has advanced and affirmed constitutional protections as a voice of the people, now therefore be it resolved that the Barnstable Town Council does hereby honor and thank Representative Jeffrey Davis Perry for his dedicated service and good works on behalf of the citizens of the town of Barnstable, Massachusetts. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate you taking a moment out of your agenda to recognize myself and the other folks who have left the legislature in this term. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to my peers who have left the legislature. As you know, as public servants, elected officials, the work that you do, the decisions that you make, sometimes you don't get the word thank you very often. And so I really appreciate the 8 years that I've served the people of Barnstable, Sandwich, Mashpee, and Bourne have been a tremendous experience in my life. I enjoyed it very much. I did the best that I could, and I enjoyed working with all of you for our common goal to make Cape Cod a better place to live. And as now a special sheriff of Barnstable County, I will continue to work with you. If I can ever be of any assistance, or the sheriff can be of any assistance to the good people of the town or the town government itself, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm honored by this, and I'm deeply humbled. Thank you very much.
Each year, AmeriCorps performs service projects in the town of Barnstable and across Cape Cod. And on Thursday night, AmeriCorps members Sheila Comerford and Keith Hopkins were before the council to give an overview of their program and to talk about some of the work they've done around town over the past year.
So AmeriCorps is a full-time 10-month residential program. We provide service to all 15 towns in Barnstable County with 4 focus areas, which are natural resource management, environmental education, disaster preparedness, and volunteer engagement. And after 10 months of service, each member will have performed 17 hours of service.
Our program is a residential program consisting of 26 service members who live among 2 different households, one in Wellfleet, which is provided through the National Seashore, and the second in Bourne, which is provided through Barnstable County.
So the way our program is structured is that 1 or 2 days a week, members have individual placements. My individual placement is actually right upstairs in the Growth Management Department with Lisha Parker. And I work on the Ways to Water projects in the town. So that's 2 days a week. 1 day a week we have a COD day, which is a community outreach day, where we work on projects like canal cleanup and Martin Luther King Day of Service. And then 2 days a week, on Mondays and Fridays, we have group service, where it's usually outdoor, it's usually manual labor, where we do things, for example, one thing we did was a cleanup of 725 Main Street, right down the road. We also have done work at the Coastal Mitigation Nursery at Sunny Sands in Centerville. So stuff like that. A lot of it is invasive species removal and things of that nature.
The dream of a continuous Cape Cod rail trail bike path from Provincetown to Bourne is getting closer to becoming a reality. On Thursday, the council accepted a $12,000 Cape Cod Commission grant to fund development plans for extending the rail trail through the town of Barnstable. Here, Community Preservation Committee Chairman Lindsay Council explains to the Town Council the hurdles that have been overcome to get to this point and the remaining challenges to get the extension built.
Yes, we've been working on this for over 5 years to work out an agreement with the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife for the 300 acres east of Mary Dunn Road. And we have an agreement in principle to cross that property, which is an enormous breakthrough. So now we're at the point where we actually need to put some pen to paper and come up with a final design in the layout. The layout of the bikeway will be north of the old subdivision road that's in there between that and the highway. and it'll extend from the Yarmouth Town Line to Mary Dunn Road for that section. So it's an exciting opportunity to continue the trail from Yarmouth. We're optimistic that we can get the planning done within a year.
What about the funding once the plan's completed for the, that's the next hurdle?
Given as much time as it's taken to develop this, a lot of the funding has evaporated. Federal funding is going away for transportation projects and these mitigation projects. So funding is going to be an issue. As long as we have the planning in place for this and the written agreements for the easement, we'll be in a position to take advantage of anything that's out there.
The council last week also accepted close to $90,000 in state and federal grants that will fund positions and programs within the Senior Services Division. Most of the money comes from a formula grant that uses census data on senior residents to determine the dollar amount a community receives. Here, Councillor James Tinsley and Senior Services Director Madeline Taylor talk about the importance of the new 2010 census data to future grant funding.
When we look at censuses, it really affects money our town gets, and that's why at that time I really questioned the numbers that we had been presented. You know, and here we go. Here's a perfect example that, because actually we just said that that's a rather odd figure as we read it, and then we saw how the formula was developed. So again, you know, it's very important that we really make sure the numbers are correct because they have such a big impact. And here's a perfect example where they impact a section of our population that really can use the grant funds, our services, and our support.
The formula grant is based on a formula. They put a dollar value, and we've been very fortunate the last 2 years that it has been level funded by the legislator at $7 per senior. And they go by Census 2000 data. So they multiply the $7 by 11,953 seniors that were in Barnstable in 2000. Now we know with the 2010 census data, it's going to make a huge difference in the numbers. And I'm actually attending a meeting tomorrow of the MCOA, they're the Mass Councils on Aging, and there is going to be discussion about the Census 2010 data and how that may affect senior centres and councils on aging throughout the state. We may actually see that dollar value from $7 drop down to maybe $5 or $5.50 per elder. So just, you know, what you're saying is very true, that we need to continue to be very aware of the numbers and make sure that everybody is counted.
Last but certainly not least, the council accepted a gift of 8 lifeguard chair canopies from the Glenna Cole Fund for Hope. Glenna was a longtime lifeguard for the town, whose life was cut short in 2008 after a battle with skin cancer. Her family established a fund in her name to raise money for sun safety products for local lifeguards and to raise awareness about the dangers of tanning beds and overexposure to the sun.
I've known the family, and I knew Glenna way back when our kids were my kids were all little, and my daughter is also a lifeguard. And this is something we talk about regularly. It's very difficult for them. My daughter is now working at the National Seashore, and they are out there all day, every day, with no protection. It's up to them to keep replacing the sunscreen. So I really, you know, Glenna was very young. I think she was the same age as my daughter at the time, or actually younger than she is right now. And it's important that we all understand that this has to be done, and we have to teach our children to cover themselves up. And if you have the opportunity to give to this in any time, in any way, please do.
A lot of this, the Glenna Cole Fund for Hope is awareness on skin cancer and protection. So if you go to glennasfund.org, you'll see all kinds of information about every kind of skin cancer there is.
Now let's take a look at this week's meetings. On Tuesday, February 22nd, the school committee meets in the Town Hall hearing room at 7 p.m. Also at 7, the Waterways Committee meets in the Selectmen's Conference Room. Wednesday, February 23rd, Old Kings Highway meets in the West Barnstable Community Building on Route 149 at 7 p.m. On Thursday, February 24th, Site Plan Review meets in the Town Hall hearing room at 9 a.m. Well, that's all for now. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.